Hey everybody, Mac here, and what we have today is another Wonder Wednesday for you. Coming at you with this, the DC Comics DC Direct Designer Series by Jae Lee. Jae Lee, and I hope I am pronouncing that right, is a Korean-American comic book artist who had a very unique, has a very unique art style, and DC Direct decided to come out with a line of action figures based off of his renditions of these characters, much like the Jim Lee figure that we took a look at last week. Now, this is your more traditional DC Direct box. Very simple. All of your attention is drawn to the figure. I really like the DC Direct boxes because they are aesthetically pleasing. They are very simple. They don't dominate the figure. They let this figure speak for themselves. You have the window up front. You have the wraparound on the side with Wonder Woman down the side. Jae Lee, Batman, Superman up top. You have his excuse me, you have his artwork on the side here, and on the back you can see the cross cell with the four figures that they came out with his design. Now, I really like his design of these figures. The only one that I'm not a big fan of is Superman. I can't really put my finger on why. It just doesn't do anything for me. I really like his Batman rendition, and I've always been a fan of this costume for Catwoman, and this figure just nails it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find these ones. On the bottom, we just have, corporate stuff. I forget when these came out. These are no longer, I don't believe these are available on the DC Direct website. I found this one at the comic store, my local comic store. You can see the box is a little bit beat up. But that's the box. Now you know what happens next. We're going to open this up. We're going to get Diana out of the box, and we're going to take a look at the DC Direct Jae Lee Designer Series Wonder Woman. Okay, friends, here she is. Wonder Woman, Diana, out of the box. And I have to admit, I have some mixed feelings about this figure. And I will tell you why in a second. But the first thing we're going to do, as always, is put the tape measure to her and see where she comes in at. And you can see that she comes in at almost exactly 6.5 inches tall. Now, the articulation, and this is where I start to have the mixed feelings. First, let's take a look at her head. She can do a full 360 rotation, but you can see this massive hair kind of gets in the way, but it is not anything, it's not very stiff. So it's not going to be like sometimes when somebody has a big head of hair that they turn their heads and it feels like it's going to break or it's going to bend out of shape. Her arms were real stiff. As a matter of fact, when I first got her out of the box, I didn't think her arms came up at all. I thought she only had the shoulder rotation. These are really stiff. It feels like I'm going to break her every time I try to move them. And unfortunately, you can see that some of the plastic is chipping away already, and she even has some rub on her back here. Let's see if we can get that focus in. She has some rub on her back from her hair, but so there's that. She does have the 360 rotation at the shoulder. She has nothing for a bicep swivel at all. So remember how I told you on the last figure that a big metric of mine for a Wonder Woman figure is if she can get that iconic like crossed bracers look. She can't even come close because there's no pivot whatsoever. She has a single jointed elbow that doesn't travel much past that. You can see she has wrist swivel, but no pivot. Nothing in the torso, no ab crunch, no torso twist, nothing. Now, the legs are a little confusing too. She can do the splits. She can do the splits very well. Her legs go that far forward. They go that far back. The thigh swivel, the swivel for the leg they put in the thigh here, which, let me bring it close. You can see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on camera, if I can get it focused in. You can see that there's a line. They broke up the sculpt with a line in her thigh. They have these big boots. I don't understand why they didn't just do a boot cut swivel. And she has a single jointed knee. Nothing in the ankles whatsoever. So her articulation is very limited for the size and style of figure that she is. That posing is not really great with this one. As a matter of fact, as far as the stance goes, this is really the stance she gets, just this power standing stance. I tried a couple of other poses. You can kind of get things out of her, but because she doesn't have the articulation of a standard 6-inch figure, it doesn't really look right. So I feel like this one, just like last week's Jim Lee figure, is a very nicely sculpted statuette style figure. Now we bring her forward, and let me raise this a little. One thing that I do love about this is, look at this face sculpt. We have seen some really beautiful face sculpts for Diana, but this one, I swear, I think is my favorite so far. The eyes, just the sculpt of her face, the flow of her hair, everything for this one is fantastic. I even love the coloring of her crown and her armor, that it's not a bright yellow, it's not a bright gold, it almost looks like a bronze. I love the coloring of this figure. This is great. I even like how the bracers are mismatched, how one bracelet is your standard bracelet and the other one is basically an armored sleeve. That's why I was really wishing this one could do that crossed bracers pose, because it would look so cool with this armor. But alas, you cannot. Something else that I don't get, and I don't know if this is a sign of the art style or not, but her skirt is really short in back. And I was really digging on this because I thought this was a great combination of classic and contemporary. How when Wonder Woman first came out, she had that star-spangled skirt, and now it's turned more into like an armored kilt, like Roman armor. And I thought this was a really, really good compromise, how it's this heavy leather with the stars on it, somewhere in between what's out now and what came before. But I don't get why it's so short in back. I mean, even on this figure, you can see the bottom of Diana's, derriere. Also, the skirt doesn't do much to hide these just ugly, ugly joints on her. And the discoloration of the plastic, you can see she has discoloration there, she has discoloration down on her thighs. Luckily though, that's all at the back. So let's set her there. Now she does come with 2 accessories. She comes with a spear and she comes with her sword. Now you can see that one hand for her armored side is very open. The other hand, not so much. In fact, when I first put the sword in, I didn't get it past that. That's really where it stops. You have to, it's so tight, force it in to get the sword into her hand. And then once you do, I feel like the hand is going to break. Like, she looks good with the sword. The sword fits her style very well. I really like it. But it's just so tight that when you take... Oh man, that's so tight. When you take the sword out... Look here. If I can focus in. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's already stress marks forming around her thumb that I'm really concerned that if I force this into her hand again, or if I leave the sword in her hand, it's going to break. Much like her shoulder. This chip on her shoulder already. Try and cover that with her hair a little bit. So there we have it, the Jae Lee DC Direct Designer Series figure. And DC Direct was always real hit and miss. Their figures always looked really good, but once you got them out of the package, it was anybody's guess as to whether or not it was going to live up to what was in the box. This one, I feel like if you know what you're getting and you can get it at a good price and you know what you're getting into, go ahead and get it. This is a beautiful figure. It looks really good. It's definitely going to stand out and be very unique among your collection. But if you're looking for something that's posable, if you're looking for something you can get those dynamic action shots out of, if you're looking for something that can match up to something in articulation to like a Hasbro Legends figure, or even some of the Mattel DC Universe figures, or even some of DC Direct's own other product, this isn't going to do it. And that's what I don't understand. DC Direct has always confused me. Like, they didn't have a standard across the board that this is going to be the starting point. Our standard figures, they're all going to have this version of articulation, and anything that is above and beyond the regular is going to have just as much articulation, if not more. Like, something that says Designer Series, you would really think they would have really pulled out all the stops and made this a fantastic figure. As it is a very nice looking plastic statuette, much like the Jim Lee figure was last week. So that's what I have for you today. Oh, and one other thing about the movie, Wonder Woman 1984. Since our last Wonder Wednesday video, it has come out that yes, Wonder Woman is opening in the theaters on Christmas Day, but it is also being released on HBO Max streaming service on the same day. So you can either go to the theater and watch it, or if you want to stay home, you can stream it at no additional cost, I believe, to HBO Max subscribers. I don't know if it's going to be available on things like Amazon, where you could just buy it for the day or rent it or whatever. But that's what we got. So it is still coming out on Christmas Day in theaters and on HBO Max. So we'll be talking more about that because I'm really torn as to which way I want to watch it. All right? So until next time, play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.